No, he broke a tackle. He could go all the way.
Oh, he's in the end zone. Touchdown, Westford.
Man.
Oh, that was a great game.
It was. I think it's great seeing so many young people involved with their school athletics. My daughter is on the track team back home.
Yeah, and I've got one kid who's a swimmer, and my daughter does cheer and softball.
But our kids don't go to schools with mascots anywhere near as cool as the mascot here at the Westford Academy in Massachusetts.
Yeah, what is their mascot anyway?
Westford Academy is the Gray Ghosts.
Oh, I love it. I bet you there's a story there.
I bet you're right. It's a story that goes all the way back to the Civil War and the ghost of a woman who waited for her fiancé to return. Hello, I'm Jeff Belanger, and you've landed on episode 285 of the New England Legends podcast.
And I'm Ray Auger. Thanks for joining us on our mission to chronicle every legend in New England one story at a time. Did you know most of our story leads come from you? This one did. A big thanks to Josh French for the story lead.
We love it when you reach out to us with your own tales of local weirdness through our website. It takes a community of people to find and share these stories, and we're glad you're in our tribe. The more people who you tell about our show, the more who share, subscribe, and review our podcast, the more stories we get. Our website is also the place for you to see video clips from the New England Legends television series that you can watch right now on Amazon Prime and see dates for my ongoing story tour, plus dates to see Ray's band, the Pub Kings.
Now, before we explore the origins of the Gray Ghost of Westford, Massachusetts, we want to take just a minute to tell you about our sponsor, Nuadi Herbals.
Ray, winter is a time for lovers. Valentine's Day is coming up, and that means it's time to get close with your someone special.
Now, sharing alcohol isn't the only way to connect with your sweetheart. What about a nice cup of tea?
I couldn't agree more. Even the process of making the tea is a way to connect. I mean, you boil the water, you each pick out your favorite flavor of Nuadi Herbals tea, you let it steep, then you sit and you sip something warm and all natural. It's a great break in our hectic day. And it's not just a delicious drink, it's a way to say we're going to stop and make a little time for each other.
And when you make time for each other, good things happen.
That they do.
Now, we've told you about Share My Blanket tea from Nuadi Herbals. It's the tea for lovers, but they have so many great flavored teas that will bring you just as close. Chocolate chai, root berry tea, honey and spice, blueberry cinnamon, and peach nilla, just to name a few. Make it your goal to drink tea in 23.
Let Nuadi Herbals help support your healthy lifestyle. Check out the Nuadi Herbals website to see all their great products, and you get 20% off your order when you use the promo code LEGENDS20 at checkout. Visit NuadiHerbals.com. That's NUWATI Herbals with an S.com.
All right, so we've come to Westford, Massachusetts to search for the Gray Ghost.
Yeah, we have.
And not the Gray Ghost mascot of Westford Academy.
No, but this haunting specter is definitely part of the backstory of how Westford Academy came to be called the Gray Ghost.
Okay, got it.
Sometimes a legend becomes so prominent you can either scream and protest about it or throw your hands up and own it. Westford has owned this one, and I, for one, applaud them. To find out what happened, let's first make a short drive to Main Street.
While we head to where we're going, here's a little more info on the town of Westford, Massachusetts. This was originally known as West Chelmsford, but the village grew large enough to become its own town in 1729. The population hovered around 2,000 people all the way up until the 1970s when the town grew again. Today, the population is about 25,000, so still relatively a small town.
Right, and it's a good-looking town, too. Very well-preserved New England. Okay, we're going to pull into this parking lot right up here.
So this is the Roudenbush Community Center. It's a rather stately building with a fancy cupola on top.
The building wasn't always a community center, though. It was originally the Westford Academy, a private school, and then later a public high school until a new school was constructed down the road. Now, it's served a lot of academic purposes for many years, and the building has a haunted reputation. They say it's haunted by a gray lady.
Oh, well, I'm starting to see the connection here.
Right. So let's head back to the spring of 1862 and find out what happened.
It's the spring of 1862 here in Westford, Massachusetts. These are troubled times because America is at war with itself.
The Civil War began about a year ago, on April 12, 1861, when shots were fired on Fort Sumter in South Carolina's Charleston Harbor. Now, the country had hopes that maybe the differences between the North and South would be settled quickly, but in this past year, it's become clear that this is going to be a long and bloody battle between the Union and Confederacy. Men are signing up. Almost every town is recruiting, and some of these boys are not going to come home.
Which brings us to the center of Westford. It's early morning, and a local woman named Jenny is seeing her fiancé off to war. The young soldier assures his beloved that he'll be safe and hurry home to her soon.
I'll be right here, waiting for you when you return.
And with that, the soldier is off to fight in the Union Army.
Months go by, and Jenny's love writes her letters when he can. He assures her that he's safe and doing his part for the cause. Months pass, as do seasons, and suddenly the letters stop coming. Agonizing days melt into weeks. Everyone fears the worst, but Jenny is resolute. Her love will return. Each day, she strolls down to the place where she said her goodbye. And each day, he's not there.
By the time the war ends in 1865, Jenny has become a fixture in Westford. Everyone in town seems to understand that her fiancé must have been one of many men killed and buried on the battlefield somewhere unknown and forgotten. Their hearts break for Jenny, who keeps her daily vigil the rest of her days.
I'll be right here, waiting for you when you return.
Decades pass. It's now the fall of 1897 when construction begins on a grand building. The Westford Academy opens on the very grounds where they say Jenny said her last goodbye.
The Westford Academy long outlasts Jenny, and that brings us back to today.
Okay, so this is where we tell you that we don't know if this really happened.
So you're saying the Roudenbush Community Center isn't haunted?
No, not at all. Actually, quite the opposite. The building is definitely haunted. More on that in a minute. I'm just saying that the Civil War backstory is just speculation.
Got it.
As we mentioned, the community center was constructed in 1897. It was the original Westford Academy. It was then a private school until 1928, when it became the town's high school until 1955, when a new school was built. It was renamed the William C. Roudenbush School in honor of Principal Roudenbush, who served here for 25 years between 1912 and 1937. This building closed as a school in 1973. At that point, it began its transformation into a community center, which is what it still is today.
A haunted community center, though?
Yeah, that's right. Now, a gray lady ghost has been reported in the building, especially in the upper floors. Now, another theory on the identity of the feminine gray ghost is that it's the spirit of Principal Roudenbush's wife roaming the halls looking for him as he works long hours for the sake of the kids in the school.
So we checked around and found plenty of stories about this community center's haunted reputation.
We did. A lot of people in town seem to know about it.
Now, one story we heard was about two custodians in here one evening after the building was closed. Inside the building, there's two curved staircases leading to the upstairs. These staircases are only ways up and down. On this particular evening, they heard footsteps upstairs. They assumed some kid must have hidden out up there, and maybe some young person had taken a nap and people forgot about them. So each custodian went up different staircases, knowing they'd meet at the top, and the young person would be spotted by one or both of them. As one custodian reached the top step, he saw the back of a woman's long grayish dress glide by. The dress then seemed to get sucked up into the attic and was gone. The rattled custodian asked to be transferred to a different building after that.
A 2016 Sun newspaper account mentions how the executive director at the time was working on the third floor where they keep all the preschool items on a shelf. She walked around the corner and saw a woman in a high-necked blouse with puffy sleeves and a billowy skirt turn and look at her before she vanished.
Disembodied footsteps and strange noises seem to be the norm around here, and lots of people talk about it on the record.
So the building's haunted reputation is cemented at this point. Okay, back to Westford Academy's school mascot.
Right, the gray ghosts.
Right. Now, how they came to be the Gray Ghosts made the news not that long ago because of a little controversy.
That controversy because not everyone believes in ghosts?
No, controversy because the Gray Ghost mascot came into being here in the late 1950s. Westford's uniforms used to be black, and they were known as the Black Knights. In the late 50s, football coach Chet Steele...
Whoa, that's a great name, Chet Steele.
I know, right? So Coach Steele changed the uniform colors to gray. And they say one rainy, foggy afternoon, the team was practicing, and someone commented that they look like gray ghosts on the field.
Well, that doesn't sound so controversial.
No, it's not. But also back in the 1950s, there was a CBS television show called The Gray Ghost, featuring Colonel Mosby, who was played by a heartthrob of an actor named Todd Andrews.
Well, Chet Steele is still a better name.
Yeah, completely agreed. Now, in the show, Andrews' character was nicknamed the Gray Ghost because he was a Confederate officer who was cunning and could slip through the landscape. The show ran for 9 months between October 1957 and July of 1958. It was one season, 39 episodes.
So some claim the students picked the Gray Ghost as their mascot because of this show based on a Confederate officer.
Right, and if it's Confederate, it must be racist.
And this made the news just a couple of years ago because of that one reference to a television show that ran one season back in 1957 and 1958.
Right, that's what the fuss was about.
But the most predominant theory at this point is that the name Gray Ghost came about because the original school building is haunted by a gray ghost.
That's the way I heard it. And the Civil War backstory of Jenny keeping her word to wait for her love to return from war continues well into the afterlife.
Got it. So the original drawing of the mascot looks so much like Casper the Friendly Ghost that it was deemed a copyright infringement. So they changed it to the current version, which is a ghostly Grim Reaper type figure with his arms crossed looking menacing. I like it.
I do too. And though the exact origins of the mascot may have been lost to time, the ghostly legend of the original Westford Academy survives. And we can't help but want to identify what bumps in the night, even if we may be wrong. It gives us some sense of control over something that really can't be controlled.
Now, I'm not sure who Westford Academy is playing next, but we're the kind of guys who will always root for the ghosts.
That we will. And that brings us to After the Legend, where we take a deeper dive into this week's story and often veer off course.
After the Legend is brought to you by our Patreon patrons. Our Patreon patrons are the best. They support us in everything we do. It means the world to us that they're willing to part with their time and money because they like what we do and believe in the cause. Now, it's only $3 per month. That's like buying me and Jeff a candy bar. It goes a long way to helping us with our hosting costs, production, marketing, travel, and all the other expenses it takes to bring you a new story each and every week. If you can help out, please head to patreon.com/New England Legends to sign up.
Okay, so the Gray Ghosts, awesome logo, awesome mascot.
Yeah, that's cool.
Really cool story. There's so much stuff that I looked up and we didn't use. The word mascot is a French word, and it means lucky charm. And people didn't really use mascots until really the early 1900s. And the Chicago Cubs were one of the first teams to sort of adopt this. And people like the idea of sort of rallying around an animal or some kind of mascot.
Yeah.
It was a way to sell merchandise. And not only that, if you have a dressed up mascot, it was a way to pull in the kids. So
that's true, yeah.
Kids like the mascot.
And it connected the team with the area.
Right.
Because most mascots have something to do with the geographical location.
Right.
Something to do with the town. Dolphins, right?
Right.
Yeah,
on the
ocean. A lot of dolphins in
Miami.
So,
right. Quite most often an animal, although not always. So I went to Newtown High School in Connecticut, and our mascot when I graduated were the Newtown Indians.
Okay.
And there was a big protest about we want to change it. And, half the school was stuck in no, it's tradition. We should leave it. We're not dishonoring anybody. We should be the Indians. And the other half was it's a group of people. It's not an animal. We should change it. And I think it was 1 or 2 years after I graduated, they became the Nighthawks, which is what they still are to this day. And of course, lots of Indian mascots have gone away. Redskins are gone. Cleveland Indians,
yep.
Those have all changed. The Fightin' Irish will probably be around forever.
How could you get rid of that?
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
But
we were the Demons at Dean Junior College.
Demons.
When we first got there, and it was so sacrilegious that they couldn't deal with that anymore, so we became the Bulldogs.
Oh, so I went to Hofstra University. We were the Flying Dutchmen.
Okay.
The Dutch.
Yeah.
And apparently that was no good because now they're the Hofstra Pride, and it's the lion is the mascot, so
Okay.
the pride. And so yeah, I guess there's been quite an effort over the years. But I did want to say a little bit more about Westford, because on the school website, like the official school website, Jim Antonelli of the Westford Academy posted a blog because there was literally an online petition. They should change the name because, the theory, and we even left off one of the theories, that there was this hawk called the Gray Ghost that nicknamed that used to fly around the academy. And and so it's been so long. Nobody really wrote down why they chose the Gray Ghost. And it's that television series was one season. It's a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if your school right now was like, we should rename our mascot because we think it could be offensive to, bears, right? You wouldn't be like, oh, you know what's a great show right now? The Smurfs. Right. We should be the Somerville Smurfs. That show's going to go forever.
And that was only one season.
So it was a flash in the pan. And so the reality is, okay, maybe that had some influence, but then there was the ghost story that had already been established. And there was the hawk. And then there was the uniforms. That was, maybe they got a deal on a gray uniform,
And like what Freud will tell you, sometimes a ghost is just a ghost.
Sometimes it's just a ghost is just a cigar.
That's it.
Right? You're right. So anyway, so Jim Antonelli of the school addressed all the theories as to, the things and said, we're sticking with this. At first I thought the controversy was like, oh, ghosts, how dare you? And like, no, people didn't have a problem with that. And the other thing, Westford, Massachusetts, man, that is the heart of Union country, right? Nobody's going to pick Confederacy up in this,
It was a stretch for that section of the world.
Total stretch.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter. Someone said it one time and like, we can't be named after someone who was a fictional portrayal of a Confederate officer on a TV show that's been off the air longer than most people have been alive at this point, longer than any student, and then probably most of the faculty.
I think you could find issue in any mascot name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you could dig back into something.
I know some Nighthawks that are deeply offended whenever Newtown High School loses a football game. But the reality is, like, so I get it. We make a fuss. If you look for a reason to be offended, you'll probably find one.
Yeah.
But I love the Gray Ghost. Please don't change it, Westford. The mascot's awesome. It's like this hooded thing, and his arms are crossed, and he looks angry.
It's menacing. It sounds scary. It looks scary.
I love it.
It's intimidating.
Yeah.
And I think the best mascots are intimidating.
Yeah.
Dolphins are not intimidating.
Not really. They're cute.
They're nice, right? They're like people.
Yeah.
They're like the puppies of the sea.
Yeah. You know what's intimidating? Patriots.
Browns. What's a brown? I don't. It's not intimidating at all.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, you're a color. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's some silly ones for sure.
Patriots are good.
Yeah,
Patriots are good.
But it's funny that, and it's really like the early 1900s. That's not that long ago historically.
Yeah.
That suddenly every school, every team was like, well, we need one. We need to rally around some totem, right? Like some animal. The bears, the lions, the tigers, the whatever.
Oh my.
The hawks, yes. The Dorothys, right?
What's the Dorothys?
I just made that up. But yeah, every school needs to have one now, and it's just it's an odd tradition, but it is one at this point.
Yep.
And I can't think of a school. Oh, here's a little New England side note. God, this could be its own episode. Maybe I shouldn't say it. It's the Tufts University mascot.
Okay.
They are the Jumbos.
The Jumbos?
The Jumbos. But
now I'm offended.
So wait, though. The Jumbos is the only mascot I'm aware of. I could be wrong. I don't claim to be a mascot expert. I'm aware of that's named after one specific animal, and that is Jumbo, the largest living land mammal, which was part of P.T. Barnum's, circus, greatest show on earth, and so they are the Jumbos. And P.T. Barnum was he was on the board of trustees for Tufts University at one point.
Oh, that's interesting.
So anyway, so they are the Jumbos. And I don't know of another team that are like you're the Bears or the Lions or the Tigers, but we are the, gentle.
You're specific to
we're Gentle Ben, that show, right?
The Gentle Bens.
Yeah, we are the Jumbos. Anyway, little side note.
Please be sure to subscribe and share our podcast, and please post a review for us. Those reviews help raise our profile in a crowded sea of podcasts. The more people who listen, the more who will share stories, and everything keeps the community growing and going. We're not a community without you.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, New Audi Herbals. Thank you to our Patreon patrons. Thanks to Lisa Strakowski for lending her voice acting talent this week. And our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember,
The bizarre is closer than you think.